So, starting with the cyberbullying cases in Orkut, there was catfishing in Orkut, down to the Facebook privacy concerns, which have continued since. There was an internet addiction in South Korea. There was the China online gaming addiction to the point where the government had to step in and say kids can only game for X number of hours a day. The Blue Whale Challenge. Does anybody remember the Blue Whale Challenge? The Momo Challenge. Does anybody remember the Momo Challenge? The fact that it turned out to be a hoax? And then the Zoom security issues. I know a few people sitting in this room who had those Zoom issues. They were funny if they're happening to somebody else. They're not so funny if they're happening to you. Right? Now you might say, hey, Inderbir, Ambika, these are all things which are happening outside of the world. Right? It's not happening to our students. And that is not true.
So we can see what all is going out in India. Okay. How many of us remember are aware of the Kerala, Team Kerala Cyber Warriors? Are we aware? And then again, was it just restricted to one area? Did we say that? Or we have the Pokemon, hacking arrest, incel culture, like when we just asked you for the incel, none of us were aware. And simply telling you, when we started working on it, it was something we also researched a lot, but when we spoke to the 17-year-old, they were all aware of it. They knew about it and they were like, yeah, that is there, out there. For them, it's happening. But for us, it was like, what it is, right? So there is so much more we need to learn. TikTok data privacy concerns again. Are we aware of it? Do we know how many students how many young adults got impacted with it? Then we have the Zoom video conferencing again, the data leak. Instagram, the boys' locker room, if you would remember what all has gone into it. And it's not just what happens on the cyberbullying, right? It's not just one person getting impacted. It's so many students get impacted, so many young adults get impacted. And there have been cases, and I know I've had a personal loss where there was a suicide connected to this. So young adults, when they cannot take it, they do not know how to deal with it. See, when we talk about bullying in any one space or one area, right? So that's just two students or two people getting involved. But when it's a cyberbullying, it is something which goes beyond the numbers. And then it just follows, right? That's where it is.
So just wanted to mention something on, sorry, could you go back one?
Yeah, sure.
So on that Instagram group thing, right? It happened in Delhi, for those who know. There were 200 odd kids. Yes. It turned out a young girl who wanted to know whether a boy liked her, pretended to be a boy and started a group to discuss other girls in not a nice fashion. It was objectification, there was misogyny, and there were a lot of issues. I have very dear friends who take great pride in harassing me, who instantly wrote and said, I'm sure your kids are involved. Okay, so obviously out of panic, I'm like, oh my God, are my kids involved? We were working with the crime police. We were going through the names of the kids. We actually went through all the photographs to see if any of the kids were any of our children, because we had to take strict action. Thankfully, none of ours were involved. It turned out to be 3 other schools, which is equally unfortunate for the leadership of that school, the parents who must have been absolutely mortified that this was happening. And also the teachers were, just, it is beyond the realm of your understanding that you would do something like that.
And because a lot of catfishing again happened there also. Absolutely. So we do not know for sure if there was a data or a picture or the names which were being taken. We do not know that those were the students, right, involved. So again, a lot of information is out there, but we do not know what is real anymore with this, right? And it's not just the students. If you see with the digital impact, the addictions, it's the families who get impacted. It's not just one person or 2 people getting impacted. Look at the Disney, the Tech 5, the top Tech 5 company, right? They had to reportedly pull out ads from YouTube following the child exploitation controversy. So everyone is getting impacted, if you would see, right? And is it just related to the family or just one child? No, it is not. And how does it impact us when we're looking at students? Are we looking at, when we are looking at admissions abroad? Does it really matter, or just, we can just let it go or pass by saying, yeah, one family got impacted? Is that so, or is it bigger than that? So what do you say? Recruiters, ISI, right? How did they find those people? Again, what Ambika mentioned, who you are, what you are watching, what you are saving, what you are liking on Facebook, or the just simple search engine. Everything is getting impacted, and they know whom to actually reach out to. So do we understand this? Our students, do they understand whatever they are researching just for the fun's sake, but it's actually putting it out there? These are the 5 things I'm interested in, and this is where they reach out. And that's how the ISI actually reached out to those students, right? Then we look at admissions, again, something which we can relate to our own students, right? And I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but do we talk to our students that they should think before they post? Or is it something which we say, my choice, I will just simply say whatever I have to say because I feel so strongly about? Same thing what we spoke about at the beginning of the session, right? You need to add filters. Why do you need to add filters? The lifelong impact from the teenage pranks. Are we aware of this? How hard the students work to get into an Ivy League, right? Don't they? And how much does the whole family, everyone, the counselor, everyone works hard. And then what happens? Just because they have actually put on some posts on the social media. Why do you think Harvard would have taken this decision? What do you feel? Philosophy. When we look at, students being admitted, what do we look at in our institution? We say we should be a good fit. So that means whatever they are putting it out on their application seemed right, but when they actually investigated and checked their social media posts, and this was not something which was out there in the, like in the public, it was a very small group on which they had posted, but it was being tracked. And they could check. Yep.
So basically, let's say the kids got admitted. All our kids are admitted. It's December. You've been sent in your notification. Yeah. What happens? Everyone makes their WhatsApp groups. They make their Facebook groups. There were about 100 members on this private group on Facebook, right? And they were people either from New Jersey or similar, international students looking for housing, etc., which is very natural and normal for the work that we do. The names of these groups were a little not pleasant, but it was called Harvard Names for Horny Bourgeois Teens, right? Now, there is no humor in this for me, because this is what the kids are like, and that's fine. We have to see how do we protect them from hurting themselves in the future. Inderbir and I were discussing this. We're not superwomen, we're not supermen. We're not God, we're not omnipresent. We cannot keep on watching over what somebody is doing. We can barely do it for ourselves. So it's very important to inject these ideas into their heads in grades 9, 10, 11, 12, and into the parents' heads. So even parents leak out a lot of information. Now, what happened here is appalling. So one of the posts said that there will be a hypothetical hanging of a Mexican child, and it would be a piñata time. Do you know what a piñata is? It's that hanging thing where, kids break it and then their candy falls out. It's a paper mache thing. Another one talked about how the drones are killing kids. Now, I'm sure these children didn't mean to say these things, but they ended up saying it. But look at the cost. Now,
offers being resigned, imagine. That's something you work so hard at, right? And that's not what you really want. And exactly same, Ambika, what we were talking about. We can't be there, right? They are going to live their life, but do we empower them to make the right decisions? Isn't it our responsibility that at least we make them aware? I'm sure, I don't know how many of you, this comes in as a shock and saying this happened.
How many of you knew this? How many knew that 10? Thank you. So maybe 2%, 2% of our room, 1% of our room. And if we bring everybody in, less than 2% of our room would know that this has happened, because obviously we're based here, but this is a big name. And that is why we started with it. Let's be honest. It's a ranked big name. It's a name everybody would like and aspire to. Then we started with it. And you're like, this is not the only one. There are at least 10 incidents which are available online. So then, do you guys remember the Parkland shooting? There's a guy called Kyle. Thank you. There's a guy called Kyle. He's a gun right advocate. He made racist comments 2 years before his application. Those were found out. So please see here.
I don't know whether this is as clearly available or not, but this is the actual letter which has come from.
So the letter came for clarification in May, saying, hey guys, We saw, and this is on his Twitter account. So this is where we've sourced it from. And normally we would have put sourcing down. This is just done last minute. So basically, Kyle was written a letter by the Dean of Admissions saying, it has come to our notice, etc., etc., etc. We would like you to explain your actions. Subsequently, he wrote a 5-page apology and he sent documents explaining what happened. He also wrote to the Diversity and Inclusion Office explaining how he would like to improve himself and what he would like to do. He was trying to retain his admission, right? And eventually, 3rd of June, there was the rescindment letter. Now, again, this doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen every time. In 2016, when Dean Fitzwilliams was asked, do you look at children's social media? He said less than 20% of the time. But that is not the case today.
Yeah, if you would see a lot of colleges.
So I mean, we had about 40 pages of this. We're not going to spend time showing you the 40 pages, but we want to explain to you that, for example, the same thing happened in Cornell. There was Nate and 2 of his friends. They were going to Cornell, and then they learned that the admitted applicant has engaged in behavior prior to attending us that indicates a significant lack of judgment, integrity, or moral character. Now, those who know me know that I speak about this very strongly and often, because who you are is, your word needs to mean something, right? That is why universities trust us. If literally I pick up the phone and I tell a university, this is what I think it is, this is where the students' financial situation is, the documents are not supporting it, they will trust us because we have built that reputation of being absolutely high integrity. Similarly, they're expecting the same thing of their alumni, right? Now, again, the chap who made this video and made it online is a chap called Adam. The poor guy was going to Richmond. Even his offer got rescinded. Why? Because Richmond said, 1, you were there and you did not interfere. You did not protect. 2, you had the lack of sense to put it online. So even he was rescinded. And there were racial slurs and there was somebody mocking George Floyd's death.
So it's not just me being a bystander is also considered as we were being part of it, right? So it's not just that, I didn't do it, and you will hear this, I'm sure, how many occasions in school we all have dealt with where we hear this, but I was not doing it. But the fact you were part of it, you were a bystander, you are considered a part of it.
So we'll give you a few more examples and then we'll move on to why you're here today, which is the lenses and what do we do in school. So there was a guy called Nikhil Fernandez. He's in San Francisco. And during his interview, he was asked about things that he'd posted on his Facebook. So what does it mean? It doesn't mean kids shouldn't go out and have fun. It should mean they should be a little more sensible about what they put online. And 2, understand that it reflects them. And it is not a college application thing. It is a basic human being. Okay? Again, Marquette revoked this freshman's admission. She was a lacrosse player, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
The University of Florida also had a similar issue, and this is all Instagram, Facebook. So we also found that, contrary to what Dean Fitzwilliams from Harvard had said in 2016, more recently, 75% of the college admission counselors are admitting that there's somebody in their team who then scours and checks if there's anything that's going to flag. So again, this is not about generating fear. It is about helping them, injecting them with responsibility, understanding that all actions have repercussions. Right, so now we're talking about digital impact.
The 4 lenses which we thought of, again, we keep looking at it and we kept thinking, how do we want to really say? Because there are so many things which kind of come into when we look at the digital impact on our young adults, right? So we could zero out to these 4 and say that these are the 4 which can help us look at various concerns, various issues, whatever we are facing. So we are presenting what we've come up with. We'll keep it open. You will always, please feel free. You want to add on more. We are working here together. We are really looking forward to working together as a community and not, it's just about Ambika or me taking over and saying that we know it all. Again, we would know as much as we know. So we could identify, one is the academic lens. When you look at academic lens, what are the various things which come to your mind? Plagiarism, online cheating, information dump, overload, lack of actual literacy, lack of critical thinking, access to unreliable information, digital distraction, and AI manipulation. See, again, AI manipulation, if you would ask, this is very recent that we've added on because, again, The technology keeps changing. There are things which are happening. So if you really look at it, what are we really saying? That how many of you would really say that you've actually faced this and you feel this is where it is impacting these students? Are we all familiar with it? Do we really talk about plagiarism?
So again,
pre-
we'll make this available to you. You don't need to take slice shots. Please just engage with us. This is not we're not talking down to you. We know as much as you do. We're here
Yeah.
to engage in this conversation so that going forward, we can build something together as a body of educators to support our kids.
See, a study conducted by the Center of Academic Integrity reported 68% of the undergraduate students admitted to cheating on assignments and exams. And this is somewhere one area, one report.
This is
And I'm sure
America.
America. And if we were to do it here, I do not know how many would admit or how many, but we would know for sure what is happening out there, right? So if we were to say it's a survey of 70,000 undergrad students, 36% admitted to plagiarizing written material. 59% of the high schoolers admitted to cheating on a test. And again, if you would see, we are trying to source, we are putting it out there because that's what we really want to teach our students also. Wherever we are using the information, we should give the credit to. So sourcing, again, how reliable is your source? Do we really know? Have we actually had those conversations with our students when we say, how do you research, right? So, yeah. American Association College University found that only 24% of the employers believe the recent college graduates are well prepared in critical thinking. Now, why would that happen when we are actually preparing for the work, for the life, right? For the world outside. How many of you have received students' research material? I would say, Ramya.
No, not a percentage, but we were discussing this last night, right?
I mean, there is a tendency to just modify a few words and then, just enough to escape those Turnitins and your plagiarism detector things. So some of it is natural because they're high schoolers, you're not expecting 100% original thoughts and things.
But they have a lot of original thoughts, Ramya. Look at our dining table last night. She's got 3 kids. Very original.
In my so in the CBSE or the ICSE, I don't know, that context, even explaining the term plagiarism, it usually comes in my office for the first time, right? So only when they're coming into my office the first time they hear about it. And it's a shock to most kids that they're not allowed to copy from the net because it's almost like if the article is in the net, then it's public information and they can happily just pick up anything and put it. And it's not a discussion that is inbuilt into the curriculum at all. So it is.
But it's affecting them and it'll affect them increasingly. And it was a shocker.
Affecting me because I have to really work hard to teach them that. And it's just shock. They think I'm just making their life difficult. So it's definitely affecting them. Badly, very. Yeah. And then of course when they go to college, it's a big thing because they realize it's a thing. It was not made up.
You will be kicked out. Period. Yeah. This is a non-negotiable. Right? Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Inevitably, out of the 100, I'm just giving you a stat, I have to return 99 of them.
Are you serious?
I have to.
So guys, this is something we need to think about.
There is no effective policy communication. There's no effective communication as to how do you justify, how do you manage media, how do you, just even put references. So it's all lost. So out of the 199 have to be returned for a revision.
So guys, this is something we need to think about because it impacts us and it impacts our students' abilities to be successful future in life, right? That's our job mostly. Yes. Yes. Yes, that is true. Nice, Ramya. Okay. So can we just appreciate that, people are sharing openly. This is a safe space. We're doing this to improve the quality of the work that we do.
There's another underlying problem that is also getting to be visible here, which is the stress that is driven around the need to perform and not being able to articulate it in the right sense. So, are we giving the right kind of education to the children as they're growing up? So, you shared this with respect to CBSE, but we have a slightly different view about it. So, when the children are getting into the high school, so they are asked to specifically look at academic honesty. When you said that, say, hey, you need to give out the source credits. So you need to, I mean, of course, the problem is not information anymore, but information culling. So how are we going to sieve and filter information? And when it is pointed out that a huge number of children lack in critical thinking, so is there a platform for us to originally drive and create information when they are at school?
Yeah, yeah, I just wanted to add to it that, of course, very much school's responsibility to look into these things. And because we are offering international programs, so we've been doing it. Our school was very aware of it and we were practicing, and it's a requirement. So when it comes to for that gentleman that 99% of the work was returned, I also feel that somewhere the national curriculum, we need to be more conscious there. International curriculum is a requirement, but in national curriculum, the curriculum doesn't put that requirement. So
is
you
what
see, a
Sapna was
project
saying.
or something is accepted. Yeah, yeah. So
Ma'am, may I just
because
submit, I
the-
work with both kids.
yeah.
And wherever they can cut corners and spend time on Snapchat instead, they will do it. So because there is the rigor, right?
Then maybe like the school, then that is where the school steps in. That
Ma'am,
where they need to be very, very conscious of it.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
like Sapna, Ramya, where we do this regularly. And unlike school teachers and school principals, in a counselor's office, there tends to be a little more honesty. And I'm being very open about it. The kind of information we know about our kids is, I don't want to know that information about my children. I really, but they come and they tell you, right? And there are demands for pills for the day after, etc., for a college counselor. And I keep on saying, buddy, college counselor, that's not my job. Go talk to your mom. My submission to you is the fact that we felt the need for this, the fact that there is not one but two companies which are sponsoring us to do a whole piece of work around this, it means it is more prevalent than we're willing to accept. And the truth of the matter is, I'm not so worried about the curriculum. Then you can say it's the value system at home, etc., etc. For me, I think as a group of educators sitting in India and sitting from other countries now, the kind of kids we send out must know this. It is like brushing your teeth, it is like hygiene, it is like etiquette, and it is slipping. Let us please acknowledge the manners that I learned are not the manners the kids show me, and the manners my parents had, I don't have. So can we please acknowledge that this is work to be done, ma'am? So I appreciate, because Sapna and I discussed that in CBSE, we don't even have that rigor that the international curriculums have.
Yeah, that's
We
exactly.
appreciate that. But that you're less than 1% of the entire schooling system. Yeah.
I've seen kids from the international curriculum, they're just smarter about it. They are copying also, they're just smarter about it, because they know things like
Turn it in. Yeah.
They try it
The
at
CBSE kids are more innocent about it. They're doing it more than anything, right? So it's just a matter of knowing a lot of things. More innocence there.
So we just love this interaction, but we'll have to proceed further. Otherwise, our time's going to run out and we will not be able to complete at least the lenses which we've brought in. So, Ambika, now your turn to quickly do tuck, tuck, tuck.
Okay, so let's look at social, guys. Got it. So let's look at social, cyberbullying, online harassment, privacy concerns, online identity theft. It happened to my parents last week, despite me teaching them. Inappropriate content, lack of empathy, online addiction, digital footprints. So we're going quickly. We've got 5-7 minutes left, but we also want this to be engaging. So we're just going to quickly go through stuff. 59% of US teens have said that cyberbullying has happened to them. Right? Cyber is not the only way. Hey, they've always been mean girls in school. I've suffered them, and perhaps maybe for a year I was one of them. But that doesn't make it okay.
And also the impact, Ambika, I think, when you're doing it only between the bullying happening, let's say the mean girl conversation happening between the 2 or the 3, but in a cyberbullying, it just goes viral. It's not just limited to the 2 people, right?
Then 70% of teens aged 13 and 17 have come across explicit material, things that they should not have been seeing. Now, these are things you may say does not affect me. I'm a college counselor, I'm a physics teacher, I'm a school principal. It does affect us. It affects the psyche of the kids, and it is incumbent upon us to do things that help protect our students and help them understand how to navigate this. Now, these are questions, we're not expecting answers, but these are questions to ask yourself. Do you know the signs of what happens when a child is being bullied? Do you know what happens? This is social, right? We talked about body image issues. Instagram. Do you know when your child is suffering, is suddenly refusing food? Do you know when they suddenly don't want to watch television, they're retreating?
And are we just giving gyan, or are we actually
Yeah.
being very conscious of the fact that even our habits, what we do with them, are we taking our phones to the dinner conversations? Are we actually reacting to every notification which we receive? And then I tell my child, hey, stop it, be off the phone. You are not supposed to be on technology. Come on, guys. Are we actually walking the talk? So physical, what do we, how many of us are familiar, right? We've seen this happening, right? Poor posture, sleep deprivation, repetitive strain, injury, loss of hearing, concentration, cyber stalking, symptoms of addictions, right? And if we can just think about it, the WHO report says that the physical inactivity is a 4th leading risk factor of mortality, contributing to 3.2 deaths annually. Imagine. And this is, you've heard of the young kids, young adults, heart attack. I've heard of so many. So where does it come from? If we keep our hand up, if we say that one hand up, if you have faced any of these physical features or physical, we can put it out there? Yeah. How many of us? One, if you have, kind of feel that this is there, and 2 hands up if you feel more than 3.
Yes. Guys.
And if you would ask me, I would go right there with the 2 and say that, yes, I've seen it.
And this is why we did this session, guys. This is just a beginning of a conversation. We don't know everything. We're here just to submit to you that we need to do something more about this, whether it is a task force in the Inderbir ma'am or something we put together or resources that made available to everybody for free, no problem. But these are things we need to be doing. Sorry, we're running through some of this because we had psychological. So this is the worst. These are the scars you cannot see, and they last for years on end. So digital addiction, FOMO, online harassment, social isolation, cyberbullying, body image implications, cyber anxiety, social comparison. All of this is happening. And may I just suggest, not just to the kids, it's happening to us as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Let us just please acknowledge it, no matter how old you are and how confident you are or how amazing you think you look, how fit you might be. It's happening to all of us. So this was a little worrisome for us. We spent some time on this. There's a place called Common Sense Media. We love them. And they said 50% of teens feel addicted to their mobile. So they're acknowledging it. Half the problem is acknowledging it. Next, 27% say that they start feeling anxious when they're away from their mobile for more than 15 to 30 minutes. So the worst thing you can do to a child today is take their mobile away, right? But there's something wrong in the way we're bringing them up if they cannot survive without their mobile. Because hands up if you had a life in a childhood without a mobile phone. Right?
And we all survived well.
We had brilliant childhoods. Let's please try and give the dice a childhood. I would hate to be a teenager today. It would destroy my sense of self. I am too tall, my nose is too big, my personality is too big. It would destroy me if I was a child today. And thankfully, I grew up in a situation where it was celebrated, and there was nobody. And I was
just the resilience of actually accepting few things and moving on together, right? You being too big, me being too short, and we were just laughing over it. And she says, "Oh, you look tiny as yet." I said, "I'm wearing 4-inch of heels, right?" And she says, "Oh, I didn't realize we should put it out there." Now, would I take it as a mean girl? No, because I could take it in my stride, right? We could talk about it. We could actually, because we are so comfortable in our own skin, who we are, and that's what matters. But are our kids ready for this? Any one thing about one comment, and It just
spiraling.
kind of finishes that.
No, ma'am.
I feel that today's parenting
Yes.
is always the blame game.
It's passing on the buck.
It's passing on the children are going up with that rather than accepting that this is a problem. The reformative approach is
No longer. So that's where we all will have to work together with all stakeholders. So we are not just looking at saying that we need to do our bit only with the students. We have to involve the parents also for that, right?
So just, I mean, these are questions, we would have loved to have the conversation, but I've got a 3-minute marker now. So how has digital addiction impacted our students' ability to actually focus in the real world? Can they spend 2 hours with you? Can they spend a day without checking their Instagram and social media? And if they can't, then there's a conversation you need to be having. And if it's your niece and nephew, have it. If it's your kid, have that conversation. Next, what strategies have you used? So we will circulate this. We'll find a way to make things available to everybody.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
we will put all this information together. We're happy to circulate that note as an FAQ or whatever it is that might make sense. This is the one I was
the
saying.
overview.
So this is the one you should take a photograph of so that you have a consolidated picture. Again, this is just the impact lenses. Inderbir and I were,
We were able to-
spitballing. We figured it is such a huge world. It is very difficult to actually understand and navigate this. So we thought that if we split it up into pillars, we'd be in a position to address these issues better.
And we will start using this vocabulary of these lenses now from here on, wherever I can kind of categorize and we say that, okay, this lens is what I'm really looking at the moment, right? So that we can research better, we can actually support better, right? Solutions will also come from the lenses perspective then.
Yes.
Right?
Sorry, guys. We'll make it. I'll take a snapshot. I'll put it on the app. Ma'am.
So again, what happens to us? Why do you think this happens? Because we always take it happened to someone else. It will never happen to me, right? Aren't we complacent about it?
Yeah.
And that's what the root cause is, because I always assume nothing's going to happen to me. I don't have anything else, nothing to hide. Nobody can take away my information from my social media account. My device is secure. How many of you have the two-step authentication, verification? Still, there are a lot who do not, right? Because we all assume that it is okay. We don't need it because our device is secure. And I think we'll have to.
I know, but for example, I have two-step authentication, fingerprint is that, but my phone does not have a password.
So that's what, right? See?
Okay, there's a story behind this. A friend of mine had an accident and they couldn't get into their phone and inform anybody. So I don't have a phone password, but I have no banking information and I have no other identifiers other than the fact that anyone can open my phone and call my mom and my dad and 3 people in case of emergency. So,
And the fact that we keep our passwords on the notes there on the phone.
no, we don't.
A lot. I know a lot. Right? We change and then we say, okay, keep it there. And then that phone is available and say that, how did this information go out? I never shared it, but it will, right? Anybody who hacks into it would know, right? And again, I'm not here to say that I know it all, but I think when we look at us as leaders and say that we are the ones who are going to support the community, what all do we need to really think through and say the digital safety has to be there, right? So if as the leaders, if we will not consider this important enough to actually budget out and say, put it out there in our deliberate effort to say, this needs to be addressed. Thank you so much. So I think we need to come together and say that this will be a deliberate effort. We will plan, we will schedule, we will put it into the calendar that there will be review meetings. We will invest in technology. We will put it out there saying that let's review what is happening in the world after 3 months and say, is there anything else which we need to add on? ChatGPT till December, we did not know much, but now we know. How do we want to make sure our students know, our team members know? Are we making sure that the teachers, right, the ones who are there, are we actually helping them out? Are we grooming them to deal with this? How many, I know for sure that so many accounts get hacked and so many information, and this is normal for them, a teenage prank, right?
May I
Yeah.
also How many teachers in your school give your password so that the kids can upload their LORs? How many teachers? No. Please don't shake your head. You want to bet money? I will bet money.
There are
Some teacher who is a physics teacher who's 60 years old, 58 years old, does not want to do it. He'll say, "Acha, tu kar de, ye raha mera password." Okay, so I have just lost money, but my point is that
but this is happening for
I'm
sure.
talking about in general.
This is
There are teachers who give their passwords. There are teachers who hand over their phones. Please be a little careful. Please be a little circumspect. If you do not raise the standard, nobody else will raise the standard.
So during COVID, I know for sure a lot of us learned how to deal with technology. But before that, if you would really ask me if the presentation had to go on, and I'm telling you of the real scenarios, yes, the students were asked to say that, okay, could you please connect the laptop to the projector and kind of log in? 2 of the question papers were sneaked out immediately before the teacher could understand. They were downloaded on a pen drive and the papers were circulated. And yes, we got to know later, right? This is over the years, right? 28 years when you worked with the teenagers, you know this is what they are capable of. You would not even realize, right? What has happened, what's hit you. But that's where, yeah, so we have to support our team members, right? And from the counseling perspective, all over to you.
Okay, so this is a bit of a winding conversation. So anyone who needs to leave, please go ahead. Thank you for everyone who's online and Zoom. Thank you for being here today. If you're a counselor and or if you're a teacher who works directly with students, here are certain things you can do. What is online presence? I'm going to stand here, it's easier for you. What is online presence? What are privacy settings? What is your online reputation management? What is cybersecurity awareness? What is digital footprint awareness? If you don't know these things, you cannot teach that which you do not know. What is appropriate content settings? What are digital literacy workshops? What is digital well-being? This is for your junior students. Now let's talk from a concept of, and please, can we just appreciate how cute this little picture is? Okay. When you're talking to your senior students who are applying, in-depth digital portfolio, what is it? What does it stand for? What is your online reputation? What is your personal branding? It's becoming more and more important. Your essay authentication, the safety of your application. I'm running through them. Each of these is a workshop. Safety of your application. You know, where are your LORs? Are you putting printouts of your essays somewhere? Are you leaving them open in a Google Drive? Have you checked into your computer center in school and run out because the bell rang and you left your drive open and somebody else got in there and downloaded the papers, right? Your online identity audit. Literally Google yourself today. Okay, I'm not saying from a vanity perspective, Google yourself and see what's available. The kids came to me and said, "Ma'am, we didn't realize you really enjoyed partying." And I was like, "Oh my Lord, how did they find out?" I didn't think it showed my face. But they went onto Facebook and they found a friend of a friend. And because my setting was friend of a friend could see my photos, there were photos of me in Hong Kong when I was a certain age. And that was not a good age. And that was not a good photo. But my kids had seen it. The thing is, it's fine in the safety of a room. But frankly, this is not a photo that one needs to be online, two needs to be out there and available. Yes, absolutely. And that's why we're making ourselves a little more vulnerable, sharing with you that everybody's, in the wild, wild west here. Okay, digital etiquette. Please, guys, our kids need to know how to behave online. They don't. Anonymity should not make you a beast. And not in a good Mr. Beast way, like a bad beast way. Okay, cybersecurity, social media do's and don'ts. If you don't have checklists, if you don't have workshops, please, one, either figure them out, find an expert, or we'll figure them out, we'll find the experts. Digital storytelling. You are your little crumbs online. What are you doing with them? Anyway, as you can tell, we talk very passionately about this. We can carry on and on. Basically, academic, professional, and even the government now, the US application, the visa application asks for your social media handles. And
Have
yes,
you tried
the children
filling
will
it
have
and
5
have you
of them.
seen that? Yeah.
The new visa application asks
They
for
ask
your
for
social
it.
media handles. And yes, the kids have not one, but multiple accounts, even stalker accounts. But at some point, something will be linked to an email ID, which will be linked to one phone, and it's not that difficult for the regulatory authorities to find out. So just a reminder.
So I think when we look at Ambika, she is kind of appealing to the counselors here. When I am standing here, why we are here together, because I would say as leaders, when she talked about so many things to talk about, am I giving that time to my counselors? Am I supporting my team to actually help out my students or say, we don't have time? I'm so sorry, I would have loved to do it, but we don't have time. So please, as leaders, it's a request, make this as a priority, because ultimately it is impacting each child, each student. So until and unless we actually realize the importance of it, I don't think so it will ever be implemented. So that's just our request, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sitting through. We appreciate you being here in the morning and staying till the very end. My name is Ambika Kaul. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's
Inderbir
Thussu.
Thussu.
You can
Reach
find
out
her
to
on
us. Thank you.
LinkedIn.